amount of money you could spend. And so with that, they had to cut a lot of veterans, and you're going to lose a lot of experience. That's probably the biggest surprise for me.
Does Terrence Newman stay around?
I don't think so. I think you had too much money wrapped up with that long term.
Well, I mean, we're looking at best and worst. I mean, they got rid of a lot of the offensive line. So
Right.
they're going to rebuild that, a unit that is so important and has been lacking really depth and experience. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. I mean, this is a definite weakness on the offensive side. If you look at the players they have playmakers at receiver, running back, and
Right.
quarterback. It's the offensive line that there's biggest weaknesses on the offensive line.
We did resign Doug Free, and then we got the kid from USC on the line. So obviously we're trying to go younger, but Leonard Davis is gone now, and there's already a lot of holes in this O line. And so how concerned are you with that? With the fact that we're getting younger, but it would also take away the experience.
I wasn't really concerned with the getting younger part of it. You can have a really good core group of young guys come in and establish themselves really well. I think the more concerning part of it is, can they find the right places for those young guys and put them in the position where they can excel?
I mean, what do you think about the defense, though, Nathan? I mean, is the defense, what's the biggest weakness on the defense that...
In the secondary, no question. I mean, especially if we can't keep Terrence Newman around. I mean, secondary. If you can't keep Terrence Newman, then who's going to take his spot, and then who's going to be on the other side?
Well, are you kicking yourself now because it seems like the Cowboys let I can't even pronounce his name slip through his fingers?
I wish I could be kicking somebody in the front office of the Dallas Cowboys, because that would have been huge. I mean, I kind of wonder if we will keep Terrence Newman just because he's got the most experience. I mean, who else do we rely on? Josh, if we don't keep Terrence Newman, do we bring somebody else in from free agency?
I've heard a couple of names thrown around. A safety, but he would be more of a nickel, Eric Weddle with the San Diego Chargers. I'd look at him as a possibility. You bring him in, you'd have to put Mike Jenkins at the number 1. You could probably play Eric at the 2. Be a little harder though.
Yeah, and let's go a little bit around the league too, because first of all, Donovan McNabb is now playing for the Minnesota Vikings, and we kind of saw it coming, but I still can't make any sense of it. And why? Well, what's the Vikings thinking here?
I'm probably nervous about Christian Ponder. He really didn't have a whole lot of experience in college, and it was up and down. With McNabb, you may or may not have somebody with some energy left, but you definitely know what you're getting in return.
I wonder if he's going to come out with a Wranglers commercial. Donovan McNabb, out there throwing the football.
Well, I imagine in your eyes he's not as good as somebody else that's come out with Wrangler commercials before.
We've actually talked about the ranking of quarterbacks before, and we've sparked a big debate. I think Donovan McNabb is a good quarterback. I don't think he's Brett Favre caliber.
Of course you don't, Ben.
Well, you need to debate that for a second. Take a look at the weapons he's had. And I'm not a Philly fan, but take a look at the weapons he's had at Philadelphia. He didn't have very many weapons, and to do what he did there is pretty astonishing.
Well, he's horrible with the clock, though. And not to mention, he doesn't know the rules of the game. If you're a 10-year veteran, you better know that a game can end in overtime.
That's not his fault. That's Andy Reid's fault.
Oh, he's got to take some of the blame for that, too. You got something there, Ben?
Well, I just like to say how happy I am that people are taking all these rejects. I mean, first of all, Seattle takes Tavares Jackson, who the Minnesota Twins would rather have Donovan McNabb over Tavares Jackson. And then you look at Chicago, who took Roy Williams and Sam Hurd.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys weren't good enough to stay on a 6-10 team from last year. What was Chicago thinking picking those guys up? What Jay Cutler needs is a guy who drops more passes for sure.
Exactly. And what are the Bears thinking? It seems like they're just going downhill. I mean, I know you're a big fan on Jay Cutler there, being that he was in Denver.
Well, he did have a better arm than John Elway ever did.
He did claim that. That's correct.
Are we looking at Brady Quinn starting for Denver this year?
No, we're looking at Tim Tebow starting for Denver
But
this year.
I heard that Tim Tebow, even though he probably is going to start, there's actually 3 quarterbacks there that could start.
Yeah, but I think Denver's going to dump Orton at some point.
Where does Orton go?
Miami. I think he winds up in Miami, and then I think Tebow and Quinn will probably battle for the job. Is Quinn right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, Brady Quinn.
Sorry, brain freeze for a second. I think that Elway really wants to go with Tebow. I think that's why he's willing to get rid of Orton. But it'll be interesting to see who wins that job.
I think it definitely will be. I'm wanting to see. I think that they'll probably start Orton, just maybe the first 2 games, and if he bombs, then they'll pull and put Tebow in.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Miami's an interesting team in that because they don't have. They're another team where you can't tell if they're running or passing game, and because they tried the Wildcat offense a lot, they don't have a solid quarterback. And they got Reggie Bush as one of the acquisitions, and alongside Ricky Williams and Roddy Brown. So I just imagine if with talent like that in the backfield, that they're just going to be pounding the ball down. Would you not agree with that, Josh?
They're going to try, but eventually you have to change it up. I mean, there's only so many times you can run the ball 60, 70 times a game and not have defenses adjust. So eventually they'll either start losing games or you'll change and lose some more.
That's just how they do it.
I definitely think it's going to be interesting. I mean, they don't have a quarterback, but they have two players that rely on the pass, in Brandon Marshall and Reggie Bush. You're right, they don't know what they are, and until they get a quarterback, they still won't know.
What didn't the screen say they are who we thought they were?
Yes.
Yes.
I think they are who we thought. Well, who?
My question is, when is Reggie Bush going to stop caring about football and start smoking weed?
He'll sign the big contract, play a year there, retire, then come back.
I'm just saying he's the second running back to go from New Orleans to Miami, and we all know what happened to the last one that did that. So, well, don't worry, he'll come back later in his career and have a resurgence.
You know them Longhorns.
That's right, they do like that.
Wait. Reggie Bush was a Trojan.
Yeah, we were talking about, hey now.
And then Roy Williams, of course, getting washed up and sent to,
Why do we have Aggie fans on the show again?
What happened to Cedric Benson, too? Didn't he get arrested?
That's what I'm asking. Why do we have Aggie fans on the show again?